Hey everybody, it's Eric from EPAutos.com, your libertarian car guy. Today is Tuesday the 4th, so it's election day in my state of Virginia. And some people are probably going to get mad at me for what I'm about to tell you, but I've decided for the first time since I was old enough to be able to vote to not vote because I'm tired of legitimizing the system. You know, ordinarily I'd be inclined to vote for Winsome Sears, who's, I think, very clearly the so-called lesser of two evils. But I'm tired of affirming evil. You know, I don't mean to say that she's a bad person, that she's evil. I should walk that back a little bit. The problem is that the government is evil. And I'm not going to continue to affirm and support an evil operation. I don't like the idea of giving what amounts to unlimited proxy power an endorsement of any so-called representative, even one that's, perhaps a nice person and well-intended, like Winsome Sears appears to be, because I'm not comfortable with this idea that I affirm and I vote for a politician, and then that politician basically can do whatever they want to, pretty much, to other people. I don't like having things done to me, so why would I want to participate in doing them to other people? I think that withdrawing our consent is perhaps the only way to get a handle on what everybody complains about, how out of hand the government is. Certainly if you're somebody, one of those weird whack jobs who just wants to be left alone and to leave other people alone, I'm not sure that you can make a sound case that voting serves any purpose. You're somebody who has good intentions, and you would like to just be left in peace, and you want to leave other people in peace. Of course, people on the left are generally not like that, and unfortunately some people on the right aren't like that either. It really comes down to differences about in what ways do they want to use the government to force other people to do things, and more fundamentally to pay for things. I think representation, too, is fundamentally problematic in the context of democracy. Let's put that in air brackets, quotes. We were taught as kids that one of the reasons the American Revolution occurred, which was really the American quest for independence from Great Britain, not a revolution, was this idea of taxation without representation. Well, let's dig into this representation business. If I hire a lawyer, the lawyer does represent me, but he's been hired by me to perform some very specific things. He's not at liberty to represent me in whatever way he deems to be appropriate, and he's only representing me. And if he acts in such a way that is contrary to my interests, I can fire him. That's representation. What you're voting for when you step into the ballot box is not representation at all. What you're doing is affirming this system in which we have the appearance of representation. I think that distinction is extremely important to make. And it makes us not only complicit, but it makes us passive, because we feel as though, well, we had the opportunity to vote, as if somehow that makes it okay. Think what would happen if, let's say, slavery were on the ballot. Is there any circumstance that you can think of where it would be morally acceptable to own another person as your property, even if it were voted for? Even, let's say, that 90% of the people decided we're going to have a referendum on slavery, and they voted in favor of it. I think most people would say, no, that's wrong. I don't care how many people voted for it. And yet somehow things that are just as morally appropriate, theft, for example. Theft is wrong. Everybody understands that theft is wrong. That if you take somebody else's wallet, for example, that's a wrong thing. And yet when the government puts its hands in your wallet, somehow, we sort of just accept that and go along with it if it was voted on. And I think that if we used honest language and dealt with things forthrightly instead of evasively, we would recognize what's going on. Why don't we have that on the ballot? Let's say, I'm voting for Proposition X. I want to see somebody else's money taken for a purpose that I think is worthwhile. Not, there's a proposal to fund the schools, and we're going to raise taxes to do that. Let's just be direct and honest with ourselves and with each other and talk about what we're doing. Speaking for myself, I've decided to just withdraw my consent from the whole turducken. I don't want any part of anybody else's property. I don't want to interfere with anybody else's right to pursue happiness according to their own lights. As long as they're not doing me any harm, then they're harmless to me. And I'm going to respect their right to be left alone, and I'm not going to do them any kind of violence by proxy through the ballot box. So, those are my thoughts for Election Day. More over at epautos.com, the web's best libertarian gearhead site. I hope you'll stop by and perhaps leave a comment. And if you like the rants that I leave on YouTube, I hope you will let other people know about them as well, and we'll have more for you again soon.